right, hello and welcome to Connection Point at the Experiential Marketing Summit. I'm Rachel Boucher, Head of Content at Event Marketer, which produces EMS. Excited to bring some off-the-floor conversations to you amid all the action at the show here in Las Vegas. Today, I'm joined by Justin Tabas, Senior Experiential Marketing Manager at Bosch. And at Bosch, he leads a portfolio of more than 200 annual events for the North America Power Tools division, with work that's launched new products, new brands, and most recently, Bosch's Super Bowl campaign. Prior to Bosch, Justin spent over a decade in media and entertainment at iHeartMedia, CBS, and Entercom. Justin, thanks for joining me here today. We're going to talk about career inflection points because no two paths into events are the same. But before we begin, an icebreaker. Okay. One thing you packed for this trip to EMS that would surprise people.
So I brought my daddy survival book because I'm a new dad as of about 4 weeks ago. And so I've been trying to catch up on some studying and reading and practice.
Good for you. Event marketers are always prepared, even when
prepared.
It comes to newborns. So Great, excellent. All right, so I do want to start by talking about how you came into your role at Bosch, and in particular, talk about how you made the leap from radio into events and kind of discovering this space. What does that look like?
Yeah, so like you said, I spent first 15 years of my career in radio, was passionate about music and live events and concerts and things like that, and just really loved the experience that whole kind of sensory experience could bring to the table for somebody. And the pandemic hit, and all of those in-person live experiences kind of fell apart. And a year later, when things started to come back together, the landscape had changed. A lot of brands out there were looking for really good experiential and experienced event people, but a lot of them had moved on to real estate jobs or other jobs in the interim. And so I had kind of a good pick of opportunities that were out there, and the Bosch opportunity came across my plate. It really looked like a place where I can make a big impact with some new and innovative concepts, kind of bring the Hollywood of the music and entertainment industry into a maybe more serious construction industry, maybe more, stale trade show industry, and make an impact, have some fun, do something different, but also at the same time work for a big, reputable global brand.
Yeah, really interesting how the sort of mass exodus post-pandemic did kind of bring in a lot of new faces and opportunities. So kind of an interesting story there. Can you pinpoint one decision, conversation, or experience that influenced your career at events versus going in general marketing or versus, going into broadcasts? Like what conversational moment really made that switch for you?
Yeah, so, I always was somebody that brought people together. I mean, all the way back to high school, college, I was, putting together parties, concerts, festivals at my fraternity and things like that. It was something that I always felt like I thrived in and enjoyed. And I loved music. Like I said, the live, element of an experience really resonated with me. And, so I took a trip abroad to France, and I had been looking for what my career was going to be after I went to college, and I was exploring record labels and things like that. But it wasn't until I studied abroad in France and met a friend that worked at a local French radio station that it just kind of clicked for me that radio was something that was a part of the community. It was, creating these human one-on-one connections because you're just talking to one person over the air. You're trying to share with them things that are going on in the community events. They're trying to meet up with you and, give them concert tickets and all types of stuff like that. And so when I came back, I never played any instruments or anything like that very well, but I knew that I wanted to be on the business side of music and media and entertainment, and radio just made that click for me. And once I stepped into an internship when I returned from France, it was everything that I ever wanted. It was, that opportunity to make an impact in the community. We were doing charitable events. We were, having stories from, listeners that were amazing about how the radio and the personalities and the DJs had impacted their lives and the music and the stories, and it just made that human connection more real. But there was a job for it, and there was a business side to it, and that really clicked for me.
Yeah, I think there's so many unexpected parallels from in different spaces that really make sense in the world of events. And you're talking about community building and all of the things that are kind of the essence of what we do as experiential marketers. So I love that story of yours about how you came up. What advice would you give junior marketers or college grads that have heard about experiential marketing? What advice would you give them starting out?
So early in my career, I came up with a saying that goes, if you don't have a dream, go to sleep. And really what it means to me is, spend your waking hours figuring out what that dream is, thinking hard, like put dedicated time to it, try stuff, explore things, talk to people that are in industries. And a lot of the work that I did was figuring out on the front end what I wanted to do. What did my dream situation look like? For me, it was being involved in the music and media and entertainment industry, bringing people together, hosting events that were going to be experiential, expositions for people and make connections between people. But I put the work in on the front end, and during your waking hours, you figure out what that is. And if you can't figure it out today, go get a good night's sleep. Maybe it'll come to you in a dream. Maybe not. You wake up the next morning and you go right back at it again and keep looking for things that are gonna, really get you engaged and get you excited. Because once you know what direction you want to go in, it's a lot easier to kind of point all of your career decisions, all of your actions into that direction to get there.
I love that. And there are more universities offering formal event marketing degree programs or sort of pathways, but it's few and far between still. How do you think our industry can create better pipelines or pathways into events? There isn't always a lot of turnover in event organizations either, to your point about how the pandemic kind of shifted and opened up a whole lot of positions, but career steps can kind of be lateral. So how can we create this pipeline, this career path better as an industry and support that?
Yeah, so I think that the industry, the challenge is part of the fact that the industry needs a lot of doers, a lot more doers than almost it needs leaders. And so you have a lot of places that are at, kind of entry level or, grunt work, hard work, long hours, holidays, things like that. And then you have a lot fewer positions at the higher levels or the leadership levels. What we can do is look to develop people and look to find ways to have maybe more stepping stones in that mix. So have a group lead, look for newer entry-level positions that are taking leadership roles, even though that's not their specific title, and then look for ways to accelerate their growth and give them opportunities to experience new things, let them shadow, be a mentor. I really think that I had some great mentors in my career early on, but also I was curious. I wasn't afraid to ask questions. I was constantly, trying new things. And that one opportunity that comes across your plate, it's like, yeah, this one's gonna be overnight and 3 days, and it sounds like it sucks. But take it because you can learn something great from it. You can make some great networking connections, and ultimately you will also be viewed as the person that's like ready to go when they say we need somebody.
Absolutely. Some professional development for our viewers. A book, podcast series, or an event you follow that's influenced how you produce your events or lead them.
So in the music theme, from an event perspective, I love music festivals. I think music festivals really present this well-rounded, experiential event. And it's all of your senses, and you've got, of course, the anchor in the music and the audio, but there's always food there. There's always great food. They're always doing artistic installments, things like that. There's a lot of visual. So there's tons of, they're also doing things that you're hanging out with people, you're meeting new people. So there's a full sensory, well-rounded experience at a music festival. And I love going and checking out what each of these new and different music festivals are doing to kind of stimulate the senses and make those deeper connections with their audiences. And every different one has, these hyper-focused kind of approaches to serving their audience. So love the music festivals. As for, books or podcasts and things like that, I love to read a full book. as opposed to a podcast personally, because I feel like the ideas really sink in. You've got multiple proof points, you've got multiple examples, so that's huge for me. One of the guys that I love to follow is a marketing generalist, Seth Godin. Read every one of his books. Follow his newsletter that comes out every day. I like to kind of focus on some of the marketing in general, core marketing guys and females in the industry, because of the fact that experiential marketing is a portion, it's a style, it's a part of a marketing campaign, in my opinion. And so really grounding all of your experiential marketing in core marketing principles is important to me. But maybe something surprising that I would say that I love to do as well is read a lot of philosophy and psychology and self-help and mindfulness, because that gives me that human connection, deeper human understanding, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do with our marketing is make those deeper human connections and deeper emotional connections. So the more that I can understand humans and emotions, the better I am at kind of researching and figuring out what our audience likes and doesn't like, and then super serving those needs and those stimulating those emotions and those senses.
Absolutely. I think event marketers are constant learners. They're avid learners, and the marketing world shifts and evolves so quickly that, to your point, a broader view can be really helpful, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, a lightning round, if you will. Bigger budgets versus better ideas.
Better ideas, 100%. I've often been in positions where I haven't been the market leader. My company or my brand hasn't been the market leader, meaning we haven't had all the bucks and the budgets and things like that. And I have had a lot of success with coming up with the right idea that can be worth way more money than a big budget. If you come up with the right idea, you can maximize the dollars that you have in front of you and make them worth so much more than being handed a big budget.
Touché. Celeb talent versus real community voices.
I think the key here for me is that it's all about that human connection, the authenticity of the human connection. If you can find a celebrity that is authentically connected to the audience and has a deep resonance with that audience because it's real and they're connected to that community, that's great. In the end, a lot of times celebrities are just building buzz and it falls flat and it doesn't have longevity. And that's where, true authentic connections, real people in the community, real peers can resonate more with the audience than, say, a celebrity that doesn't have a connection.
Yeah. Okay, Coachella level, speaking of music festivals, Coachella level spectacle or intimate 50-person dinner?
Love a music festival, of course. I think that my thought on this is that
I'm stress testing your earlier response.
Yeah.
Question.
Love a music festival. I think that where I land on this is that you have to have a big enough of a impact to be able to measure it, to be able to learn something, to be able to scale it. If you do something that's so small that you're working on a sample size that's so small that you are trying to derive decision making from such a small sample size, that can be troublesome. So I do lean into something that's large enough to have an impact and to be able to measure and to be able to kind of get enough exposure. That being said, the more people you have, the harder it is to have a one-on-one individual, very curated experience for an individual, because you're going to see much more diversity in the audience. Yeah. So I actually kind of lean like a little somewhere in the middle. Like I feel like a very special event that can serve 100 to 1,000 people is maybe like a nice sweet spot between the two, because you can kind of have enough efficiencies with budget, you can have enough impact to learn something, and yet you can still be intimate and curate specifically enough to really trigger the emotions and the senses of that specific audience.
My mind always goes to the event within an event. Mm-hmm. Have the VIP dinner during
Coachella.
during your Coachella.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for spending some time talking about careers. It's one of my favorite topics. I love hearing how people came up in the industry. And thank you so much. And catch up on your sleep this week while you're at EMS.
Thanks so much.
The new dad. Okay.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you.